The greatest referee in the history of officiating, Western Pennsylvania Paisano, CBS officiating analyst, ladies and gentlemen, Gene Steratore.
Yeah,
How you doing, Gene?
Patty Mac, what's going on, my man? It's great to hear your voice again.
Hey, Gene, I fucking love you, dude. We all love you. AJ Hawk over there as well. We sang your praises right before you came on, and AJ talked about, I think we all did, you always seem to be incredibly cool on the field, very consistent. You always had your crew in control. It felt like you were a good communicator with the players. How come you're one of one in that? Why does every other ref suck, Gene? What is the deal?
I can say this to you, Pat. We always get better once we retire. You know what I mean? Because there's never any more misses after that. So I always love game day, right? I mean, as a kid, you know what it's like when you wake up and it's game day morning. And I think that's probably why I refereed, 80 basketball games in a full NFL schedule, because it was game day 5 days out of the week. And, everybody's in a great mood on game day, and it's that environment and just everybody like hyped and ready to play. And it just put me in that moment and felt great. And let's face it, man, I got to do it for 40 years of my life. I got to play on fields and courts. It was, it's the best. And now I get the same kind of feeling in the studio with CBS. It's fantastic.
Well, let's talk about it, Gene. Did you always know you were going to be a ref? Because I think the issue now is there's not a lot of people that want to be refs, I don't think, anymore.
Right.
I don't think it's a desirable position. Did you always know you wanted to be a ref? And
you know what, Pat? Yeah, my dad refereed Division I football and basketball for 35 years. My late father. So we grew up in a house that, we went to games. I saw Franco Harris, Lydell Mitchell, Steve Smear, Mike Reed on the field at State College, as a little kid. And I was watching my dad, who was a hell of a back judge and a great player at Pitt. And so we grew up in a home that understood officiating from the time we were born. 7 kids, and everybody was a referee for trick or treat a couple times out of the year. You have to put the jersey on. It's a cheap way of getting a good jersey. But yeah, I think we kind of knew it. My older brother was a back judge for 20 plus years in the NFL, and it's in the family. Cousin Frankie's going to this, Sweet 16 in women's college basketball.
Hey, let's go,
Frankie! So yeah, it's in the blood. I got a younger son, my youngest Andrew, working small college hoops right now. So it's something that was like it was a fabric of our family, and we understood the value and magnitude of it. I think you know what I mean. Like there's a piece of this third team that has to be able not to just get the plays right, but be able to massage that 5% where, okay, technically is this a foul? Yeah, but does it fit? Is there an advantage, disadvantage? Is there a piece of that play where it's affected or not affected? And it's in that little nuanced place that I think that's what makes you a really good official and understanding at least when to play call and when not. And then it's the whole other piece, guys. It's the emotion, right? It's the stress. It's the emotion. It's the craziness that's out there, and just loving that interaction because great athletes are competing at the highest level. Coaches are amped up at the highest level, and feeling that calmness in that moment is addictive as hell. I mean, it's crazy addictive because that's what you that's what you do. It's what you live for. And I was bitten by it, and still am. You know what I mean? And with this position, there's still that unexpected. It's coming. You're watching 4 games at one time. Boom, you're in this game. You got 40 seconds. Scrub the play, rewind it, take a peek. And then hearing all the things that the great people at CBS do behind the curtain just to get you set, to cue you. Producers, people in the truck, people in the studio, like the great guys you got there. You know what I mean? Like it takes so many interactive parts to do this 5-second window, 12-second hit, and then bam, you're gone into another location. So this has been an amazing bridge to cross, and I'm grateful as hell to do it and loving every minute of it.
You're great at it.
Gene, are refs kind of like players to where some players, like the great ones, they want the ball in their hands in the biggest moments when the game really matters? And I'm sure great refs probably – they don't shy away from, hey, if they're the back judge, they want to make that call one way or the other or not make the call at the end of the game when it matters. Are some refs scared and don't want the ball coming their way? They don't want to have any impact?
Yeah, we're all different, and you're right, AJ. I think the best example I could give you, you get the new official on your crew, and he's on the line of scrimmage for a kickoff, right? And now they're going onside. Does that official want that onside kick going away from him, or does he want it coming at him? You know what I mean? Listen, in this business, you're either the hunted or you're the hunter, right? And you got to be the hunter. And in basketball, football, the two sports I worked. Look, when you get to a certain level, and that level is when you are officiating people that do this for a living. So it's small college athletics. Those people, their lives are at stake. Their jobs are at stake. Their location, their family. You become a very integral part of people's success and their livelihood. So there's great pressure right then, and you have to instill that in to every official, regardless of their personality makeup. You have to embrace that element. But you're supposed to get your plays right if you're that primary official on the play. The nuance is how good of a secondary official are you going to be, right? There's a guy that makes a play or misses a play as a primary official. They call a block in the back on a punt return. And the official that's covering the play, he thinks it's a block in the back. Okay, well, there's two other officials that are moving to that play as it gets to that point. And if they think that's a side block, does that official that's a secondary by his position not going to get any crap for it if he doesn't put his kind of hand into play? Does that official come in and grab that official real quick and say, listen, look at me. Let's talk about this for a minute. Rewind that play again. So I look at officials like, look, when you're primary, you don't get patted on the back for getting your plays right. That's why you're there. But how good of a secondary official are you, right? Like, are you willing to do that? And I think the same applies. Look, it applied for me when I played. That's how I think you value, good athletes. And this is, look, most athletic shit I ever did in my life was when I was reffing. You know what I mean? Keeping your body up to a standard to deal with world-class athletes on a night-in, night-out basis while Father Time was winning. You know what I mean? Father Time's undefeated, man. He's winning. And when you're waking up at 50 years young and for the next 4 nights you're on a major college basketball court, you get a day break, and then you're on an NFL field, you got to keep your physical body up. You got to eat right. You got to sleep right. You got to study. You got to read plays. You got to watch trends, tendencies. It's the same thing that athletes do in that same capacity.
Gene, there is no way there's anybody else doing all that. You got to be the only person doing. Honestly, it's a problem. Hey, this is an epidemic right now. Like, I understand we just went through an entire actual pandemic and everything like that. But if you talk to any fans in any league, Gene, any league, you go European soccer. I guess the NHL. They kind of have like a little bit more give and take between the ref and the players. I think there's actual shit talk. There's like a game flow part of it where it's like, hey, we got to make up for a call that we fucked up earlier. Like, I think that's more expected in hockey than anything else. But if you ask like NBA fans, NFL fans, college football, college basketball, it's like the reffing, the officiating is a problem. Do you think like you need to put together a Steratore standard, like a school? Or do you think there's guys that we don't like, or you think there's like another class that's going to come in and be a great batch of referees?
I think the scrutiny of officiating is exponentially grown with the growth of social media, with the instantaneous breakdown of everything, right? I mean, the whole world's that way. We're all looking for that quick one-line hit or that thumb up like or whatever it is. So, look, that's happening. So that's reality. You got to face that. Officials now, they're getting more training. The ability to get video instantaneously and the way the supervisors interact with them. All of that's at a high level. That's a portion of the game. It's the management and how
you said the 5%,
right?
Yeah,
that's what this is. Look, if we called a foul in every football game where it was technically a foul, we'd screw this up so bad. You think we're hated now. So there's that window, right? And it's the same as we're watching in hoops right now, right? 1 minute it's too physical. Now they're calling small change fouls on the other end. There's a blending of this, and then there's a human element. So listen, the generation that's here now, that's the other thing. We all got used to, when I first came in, it wasn't like everybody was open arms. They wanted to know where Jerry Markwright went. You know what I mean? They wanted to know where that previous generation was. You grew up with these officials as coaches in college and more as players in the NFL, because in college sports, they're here for 2 years, they're gone. Coaches stay. those relationships stay. And now all of a sudden, there's like a new generation. I've told a lot of veteran coaches in college basketball, they're like, Gene, this is not the same. And I'm like, congratulations, your career has been so long, you've outlived another generation of officials. So you got to get used to that. So there's a piece of that in there. But with that said, because the scrutiny's up, the TV cameras are amazing, the angles, the HD, the micromanaging every play is the difference. These guys and gals are under so much more pressure, I think, than I was when we started. And it grew really through my 20 plus years. I think it started to grow into more of that, right? So there's a give and take, but look, you got to work to get better all the time. And because they're younger, a lot of them, they haven't maybe had that experience in the reps. I hear all the time, put younger people on the field, guys that can run, better athletes. You get all that stuff. Like, why are these old guys out there? In this business, you got to work 5 or 6 years of college athletics. You got to work another 5 or 6 years of small college athletics to be able to possibly be able to get to major college to manage this. Then you got to live 5 or 6 years in that level, right? You got to figure out, do you have enough stones to throw a flag in a big house in front of 100,000? That's a different element. There's a human piece of that. And then once you hopefully navigate that successfully, listen, I was in the Big East when Michael Vick was doing magic at Virginia Tech, right? And Miami was resurging again through Butch Davis. And I think Shockey, Bubba Franks, Kellen Winslow is being recruited just at the tight end position at Miami. I worked their fall game, looked at my crew in August when they just played each other, and turned and looked at my guys before the season started. I said, we just worked the best football game in America. They were playing each other. There were 25 guys that went to the NFL in that team. But even with that foundation, which was 15 years of working 100 basketball games a year, the moment I stepped from college football to the National Football League, it was a different sport. You know what I mean? Like, these are now guys that have honed this craft every single day of their life. And when Randy Moss would get to the top of his route and have his hand right at his waist just to separate, just at the break, just enough to gain a fraction of a separation, which wasn't enough for a foul, but you knew he kind of pushed off, but he cheated well. You know what I'm saying? Like, and bam, the ball was there. In that business, it's like, move on, let's go. And that's the growth. So you look at it in real terms in chronological years. You start reffing at 25 years young and 15 years of just building it. You're 40 and you're a young guy in the NFL, right? I mean, and now at 50, 52, you've got 10 years under your belt. That next 5-10 years of your life, if you've kept yourself physically great, if you've done all of that, now you're going to do your best body of work. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the progression. And I get it, because every once in a while, it's like anything else. You see one or two bad apple kind of feels, and the whole thing goes down. And let's face it, fellas, refs don't get any wins.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not fist bumping in the locker room. Yo, we got a W. How many times I listen to post games and a coach is standing there. He looks like he probably hasn't slept, right, for 4 weeks, because they're on a 3-game skid. And the first thing he says at the podium is, if we could get a win, everything's going to change. Like, the whole thing's going to change. And I'm sitting here at home eating popcorn going, I haven't gotten a win in 35 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're on a 20-day skid. And I'm looking at you like, the last time I got a W, I was 20. You know what I mean? Like, so
Gene,
there's a mentality of that. You got to be able to endure that. That's not easy. It takes a certain being to handle this stuff.
Gene, do you think there should be press conferences for refs after games? I think that would help out refs, don't you think? Because they could explain the decision and why they made it, and also fans get a chance to actually hear the questions be asked to the refs that, because now with gambling, I mean, there's always been gambling, obviously, and that's been a part of it. But now that it's growing, I mean, there's billions and billions of dollars on these games from fans. Now, fans have always been very passionate, very loyal, but now there's so much money on the line. Do you think press conferences would help, or you think that would potentially kill confidence of those guys that you're talking about that maybe haven't had as much time?
That's a good question. The tough part about having a post-game pool, right, is you're going to look at me on a judgment call. You're going to talk to me about, Steratore said on the broadcast he thought that was enough for pass interference, and you're playing in that again in that judgment line. Now we're going to sit in a pool spray and let and let people shoot at you from random areas on judgmental plays. That's not fair, right? We can't go there, right? You just can't go there. There's too many judgments made where scenarios came. Misenforcement of penalties, complete egregiously mistaken application of rules, things like that. We had pool reporters in the NFL. That's how they handled that. You knew if you walked off the field and someone grabbed you with that white shirt on and said, "Yo, we got a pool reporter today," it was like, we got something big, right? You know what I mean? So, but again, in that fraternity, this is the best kept secret in athletics, and rightly so. Like, officials dig the fact that they're not front page. They did a great job. It's the way we're made up. We're not looking for pats on the back. And realize as we go into this
Correnti.
You know what I'm saying? Man, you got to leave Tony Correnti alone. He just would leave his mic on every once in a while. He was human, and I loved him for that. But he was a Pazon mentor. I can't pass on him. And I got to go a little Yinzer, Patty, for a minute. I told the boys I was down on the south side last night. I said, Patty Mac's going to have me on.
Oh, here we go.
Everybody was shouting and screaming, "Yo!" He said this quote, "Tell them Yinzer killing it. Patty Mac is the goat." And they all started cheering. They were buying rounds all up and down the south side, across the river into the Strip District. It was crazy last night. You were on fire, my friend.
Gene, we love you.
I'm honest with you. You're on fire.
No, you're on fire, Gene.
Great.
Let's go.
Serious, Pat.
Hey, you're the best, Gene. Please tell everybody I said hello, and I would like to buy a shot for all of them as well. All the way down. I've done it before. I'll do it again. AJ,
you mean from 18th and Carson all the way down to the point. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Gene. I appreciate you, man. Last question here from AJ. Please tell everybody I say hello. And we fucking love you, Gene. Go ahead, AJ.
Gene, what's it like when you work in college basketball games? I know any game I've been to, I watch both coaches just berate the refs the whole game. The only time they stop usually is when they talk to their team during timeouts. Like, I feel like they're working you guys all night long. Is that always the case?
Yeah, it's constant, AJ. And it's a beautiful thing, man. My psychologist is going to love it forever. Like, at the end of each session, she's like, "Gene, we don't have to revisit that again. But if you want to, we can," because I loved it. But yeah, AJ, you're so right. It's like it's nonstop. And part of it, I think, is in their mind. They think that working that and constantly questioning is somehow going to gain some advantage on a 50-50 play. I would love to tell them, because of the millions of people watching right now, because of the success of the show, they're wrong.
Okay,
for the
smart.
most part, that isn't working.
Smart.
You know what I mean? But it's part of the nuance of that business. And, I always allowed it. I didn't like the optics, though, AJ. You know what I'm saying? Like the jacket stuff off, the hands up, the pointing. Put your hands down. Say what you need to say to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can
When do you tee them up, though? When do you know when they cross the line?
When I think it's not good for the game. That was my line. And the reason why I say it that way, AJ, is everyone involved in an athletic event has to be held accountable to something at the end of the day. We have to live in that pyramid structure, and at the top of that pyramid is the game, right? Coaches have their posse. They got their team. They got their pride, their teams. We were going out to kick someone's ass, and whatever the team needs, we're going to do that. That's their thing. That's cool. At the end of the day, though, they're held accountable to the game. Same with the players and their actions. And the officials, and a very big part of what officials should be doing, is understanding that there is a line at some point. Look, you're not going to like me today. I get it, and I'm cool with it. But you have to respect me enough that as I navigate this craziness and sometimes your adolescent behavior, if I put my hand over my mouth and I start talking to you on the sideline for a minute, what's coming out behind my mouth is, right now what you're doing, it's not good for the game. And we're held accountable to that. And if you now continue to cross it, I'm not really whacking you. You're whacking yourself. It's suicide. It is a murder. But I'm coming. You're getting it. You know what I'm saying? And it is within that bantering. And I got to be frank with you. Like, that's what I dug more than the game itself. That's what I remember more than the games. I remember those interactions of being able to stay in that moment with this craziness around and still be able to hold a level of a baseline that was like, look, I'm good with whatever you're doing. I know I got family and you like to swear about them. But keep your hands down. Don't let the crowd, don't let these people that love this game, this youth, the downs, the people below this that are striving to be you, that optic can't work here. That's not good for the game. It's off. I'm giving you one. If you continue to come back at me, I'm whacking you to set you back down. And then if you do it again, I'm dismissing you, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. My dad always said, look, when you're a ref, you carry a bazooka on your belt. When people are shooting BBs at you, you don't pull a bazooka out. But when it comes time to pull it, you don't just show it. You throw it. You know what I mean? So in that world is that. And I think the crossover, honestly, between what we could say on a football field, right, with you guys that nobody saw. We could navigate all this and have a lot of fun out there, talk a lot of shit. And if it got too quiet after 2 or 3 plays, I would stand between both teams and go, oh, it's too quiet. Let's go. Pick it back up. Nobody's talking enough shit. And a couple guys would look like, Gene, you're crazy. But I knew at that point then, they were engaging and embracing the fact that they felt like I understood the energy out there, so that when they did now stand over somebody and I started to yell, it was like a reaction, like, I got you, man, because you've allowed this and that, right? And in basketball, the proximity is so close. We're all great lip readers. Cameras love to go to coaches right after a controversial play. It's good TV. So you got to be able to navigate that in a fire shoot, like in a tight window. And for me to cross over from one to the other, I blended all that management with it. And that was the juice. Like, that's the juice. That's why you stay, man. You know,
Were you supposed to be like a politician, you think? Because I honestly, AJ, hey, everybody in Green Bay loved you. AJ said to me, everybody in Indianapolis loved you. I remember when you came to training camp, the way that you were being introduced to the young guys and the young coaches, like, hey, this is the best ref we got. Like, Gene Steratore is the best ref that the league's got. Do you think, like, you just were, because kind of like Tom Brady retired and then he came back, like, you ever think about that? You were made to ref, it feels like. And if not, you're supposed to be a politician because you can settle things so quickly in live action. Will you ever get back in there? Will you ever get back in there?
No politician. In this day and age, we're not talking that, but nobody can, politics, we can't fix like this nowhere.
True that, but you can talk to anybody. You can handle situations. You're calm. You're cool at the highest stakes. You're so dedicated and bought in. Will you ever get back into reffing, you think, or the TV is everything?
I love what I'm doing right now. I'm not going anywhere. What I'm doing right now is my platform, through the grateful and graciousness of CBS,
yes,
is allowing me to do just what we're doing right now, right? So this platform, I think I can help officiating in a better way than boots on the ground with a closed-in fraternity. And that was a part of the decision-making process, Pat, when I left, because I left at 55, and I'm telling you, that's like when you got your 5 best years ahead of you, if you can keep strong. You know, my back is not good. I got some herniations and some fusions from playing and being out there all those years. So, you know, I'm challenged a bit physically. But I do believe that what CBS has allowed me to do with both of the sports that I love and the SEC, and I kind of went back and fell in love with college football again, because when I was in the moment reffing, I didn't have time. We were doing pre-games on Saturdays, so you couldn't watch college football. So now been back into that, and what they've allowed me to do is be engaged in three of the most unbelievable sporting things that we have on the planet, and I've got more time. So it is getting out there and talking to young officials. It is trying to recruit. Look, we're as an epidemic. There's no one wants to ref. Okay? Because they're watching all this. They're seeing all this. I mean, who's sitting at home thinking, yo, I want to do that? Be abused completely. So the recruiting of officials right now is skewed toward the negative so much that we've got to lift that back up. And we have to do that, because these games can't get played without good officiating. There's a third team, and it's cool to hate them. It's all right. It's good. It's good for the game. But we got to have them. So I really feel like, again, through what I'm doing now, which I love to death, it is kind of like reffing. I won't lie to you. Like, dude, I'd love for you to come up to the studio and watch, 10 screens flying at once in the 1 o'clock window and 5 NFL games. And bam, there's a review over here, so I'm still gaining all of that, which I'm grateful for. I get to rewind too, which is really cool. I get to look at it again. I get to circle back, which I never got to do in real life, right on the field. So, but for me right now, which is also what's real cool about ref, it's great what you do personally, right? You always celebrate your personal accomplishments with the people that are around you that sacrificed part of their life to allow you to have that. That's personal. But now what do you do with your success? What do you do with the platform you get out of the hard work you personally celebrated? Now it's time to give back, and great officials always are giving back, right? Like, look, when you guys played with great players that knew they were in the last year or two of their contract, and somebody got drafted in your second to last year maybe that was replacing you, right? Did you just ignore him? Did you not share those secrets with him? You know what I mean? Or like AJ, I mean, you were out there for a decade, right? Or over a decade. And these young linebackers are coming in and they're looking at you. You know that some of the tricks of the trade right now, right? So you give back to that fraternity if you love it, right? And if you do the right thing. That's what refs do. That's what this is about. And again, it's cool that nobody really knows it, because that's what you pride yourself in, is, not being recognized and accepting that,
Gene, you need to be recognized. And by the way, we will do our part to help you. We won't bury refs as much.
No.
We'll talk about how hard of a job it is, because we do need it. And I think the reason why we talk about it so much is because as players, and I got to watch a lot of great games and, interact with refs, right? Punter, kicker always interacts with the refs basically every single time we go in there. And I'm a chatty person, obviously. So I think like watching and knowing the importance of a great ref versus a bad ref and how much a game can change. I mean, one pass interference call, Gene. I mean, that is an entire game change on its head. If it's a battle, it's like, we need good refs, and you were the best of all time. We can't thank you enough for joining us. Enjoy the rest of March Madness. You're crushing it, pal.
Thanks, guys. It's great. Shout out to you, man. Everybody downtown.
Dahn.
Love you in the Berg, Patty.
Hey, I love you, and I love the Berg as well. Ladies and gentlemen, CBS officiating analyst Gene Steratore.
Yeah.